Max Verstappen's penalty on Sunday has caused a bit of a stir within Formula 1. While some think it was a bit harsh, others think that instead of 5 seconds, it could or should have been 10. In today's GPFans Special, we look at Verstappen's moment with Oscar Piastri and analyze a number of similar incidents from the past where the FIA sometimes ruled a bit differently. Verstappen was penalized last Sunday for violating Article 33.3 of the FIA Formula 1 sporting regulations. Quote, drivers will be judged to have left the track if no part of the car remains in contact with it. And for the avoidance of doubt, any white lines defining the track edges are considered to be part of the track, but the curbs are not. Should a car leave the track, the driver may rejoin. However, this may only be done when it is safe to do so and without gaining any lasting advantage. So, the FIA explained that it is forbidden to gain an advantage off the track and keep it on track. In some cases, they instruct the driver to give the place back, but that did not happen last Sunday. Red Bull also did not instruct Verstappen to give the spot back, as dirty air is a big issue in 2025 and the team hoped the Dutchman could pull a 5-second gap. By the way, the FIA was lenient, as normally this exact offense is a 10-second time penalty, as we saw with Liam Lawson in the very same race. Still, there is a grey area, as you could also say that Oscar Piastri pushed Verstappen off the track. The main issue here is who is the defending party and who is the attacking party, and then who is first to the apex. People often talk about the apex of a corner, but where is it and what does it mean? Well, the apex is actually an invisible point in a corner. The imaginary point is where you, as a driver, enter the corner, and it is pretty much always on the ideal racing line on the inside of a corner. Drivers who reach the apex first have the proverbial right to the corner. The FIA can be inconsistent with their decision-making, which is very much the case when it comes to the leaving the track and gaining an advantage bit. Verstappen did get the same penalty in 2021 at Jeddah as well as he did this year when scrapping Lewis Hamilton. Back then, the Dutchman got a 5-second penalty and a penalty point on his license. A week later, however, the FIA did turn a blind eye to a case involving Lewis Hamilton. At the infamous Abu Dhabi Grand Prix on the first lap, it was Verstappen who wanted to pass Hamilton at turn 6. Verstappen went for it, was ahead at the apex and went wide on the exit. Hamilton then cut the chicane and rejoined in front of Verstappen. Race director Michael Massey felt at the time that Verstappen did push his rival off the track a bit as well, and it was deemed that no further investigation was needed. Last year in Austin, it was Verstappen and Lando Norris who were tussling with each other. On lap 52, the duo came together, and for the first time, the apex of the corner played a major role in determining who was right and who was wrong. Verstappen was on the defensive in this case and slammed the door on the inside of the corner. Norris wanted to pass and did, but outside of the white lines. The FIA commented on this, quote, as car 4 left the track and returned in front of car 1, it is deemed to be a case of leaving the track and gaining an advantage, end quote. This could have been 10 seconds, but the FIA saw that Norris had no other choice, and so there were mitigating circumstances. A week after the incident in Austin, Verstappen and Norris were involved in another incident in Mexico. Using DRS, Norris, just like at Coda, tried to overtake Max on the outside at turn 4, but the difference was that Norris' nose was firmly in front of the Red Bull this time. Again, Verstappen slammed the door and even nudged the McLaren off the track. The stewards said Norris was ahead of Verstappen, quote, at the entry apex and towards the exit of the turn when he started being forced off the track, end quote. They believed the move was done in a, quote, safe and controlled manner, end quote, and that Norris would have been able to make the pass on track had he not been forced off. Conclusion, 10-second penalty for Verstappen for forcing another driver off the track. Formula 1 is a complex sport, and when penalties are given, it always leads to debate. Verstappen clearly did not agree with his penalty on Sunday, but kept quiet as he wanted to avoid trouble by openly criticizing the FIA. Martin Brundle explained in his Sky Sports F1 column that Verstappen simply should have yielded at turn 1, however. Quote, the driving guidelines the stewards work to have been refined this year, and a driver who wins a corner by being sufficiently alongside is no longer obliged to leave racing room on the outside. It's up to the driver to yield and fall into line. This was to stop the driver on the outside simply releasing the brakes or even accelerating, running wide and claiming they were ahead and hadn't been left suitable space, thereby easily trapping the driver on the inside into a penalty, which is what Max tried on Sunday evening. Christian Horner had an entirely different opinion post-race. He pointed to the let them race rules that, according to him, should have applied in Jeddah. He questioned where Verstappen was meant to go. Well, maybe we've confused you even more with all of this, but what's your opinion on gaining an advantage off track and how should stewards approach the issue? Leave a comment down below with your thoughts, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the very next one. Peace.